The purpose of the 2023 Los Angeles Lead Summit hosted by Painted Brain is to uplift the experience uh, of conversations about what is working and what isn't working in the current mental health system from a peer perspective. These conversations will be shared at the California State Conference with peers throughout the state to see to see where what is working and what isn't working overlap. The feedback will be used to support the advocacy initiatives at the June 2023 California State Lead Conference in Sacramento, hosted by California Association of Mental Health Peer-run Organizations, CAMHPRO. My name is Tristan Scremin, and today I will be conversing with today's storytellers about their lived experience with the mental health system. Let's lead the way by using our peer voices for advocacy. Welcome, and thank you for agreeing to share your lived experience with us all. What is your name, pronouns, and how do you identify?
Hi, my name is Max Leva, and my pronouns are they, she. I identify as a mental health advocate, also somebody with lived experience, and also somebody who has family members that have mental health.
Considering your lived experience, what do you think is working in the current mental health system? Share times when you felt the interaction with the mental health system supported and was helpful to you, and the care you received and support and or resources for your recovery journey. So what is working with the current mental health system, in your opinion?
In my opinion, what's helped a lot in my own journey with mental health has been the crisis line. Whenever I've had a crisis or I'm not feeling good, especially as somebody who has like anxiety and sometimes has panic attacks, sometimes the best thing for me to do is to talk to somebody, but somebody who is not necessarily my family, more like a third party person, so I can really express how I feel. And I would say throughout the COVID pandemic and even before COVID, the crisis line has been extremely helpful. I have had really good therapy sessions through the crisis hotline and just received a lot of support in those moments where I was feeling extremely anxious. So I would say the crisis line was number one for me. And I would say the second thing is therapy. Like having access to therapy has been very helpful for me and something that I feel is very, very beneficial for everyone is to be able to have somebody that they can talk with. Um, so I would say those top two things are what I feel is doing really good, and there's a lot more conversation about harm reduction as well.
Excellent. Thank you. Considering your lived experience, what do you think is not working in the current mental health system? Share times when you feel like your interactions with the mental health system did not support you or was harmful to you in receiving care, support, or receiving or resources for your recovery journey. So what's not working with the current system?
First of all, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity because I've been dying to have this conversation as a mental health worker. But first, I'll start with myself. The number one thing is that not everybody has access to therapy. And the number one problem is the insurance part. When I wasn't insured and for my first like 10 years of like my adult youth, like I would say all my 20s, I was not able to get therapy because my job didn't have healthcare. So not having healthcare was very difficult. And then I was earning more than Medi-Cal, right? So I couldn't qualify for Medi-Cal because I was earning quote unquote too much. And then I couldn't get insurance because insurance was like $400. So it put me at that like level where I was stuck on. So that was for me as far as like what I personally believe needs to change is there needs to be healthcare for all and it needs to be free. The second thing, the other stuff I want to go over is more as a mental health worker of things that I've seen. We have this concept in the mental health field that we say meeting folks where we're at. That's a great concept. I love the idea that we want to meet people where they're at. I don't think that's actually happening in mental health because there's so much red tape. There isn't like full support that we can do to like meet clients where they're at. For example, some of the mental health workers have a huge loads. That's the reality. There's high caseloads. Even when you talk about FSP, full service partnership, that's intensive case management, and you're looking at a caseload of 28 people to 20 people. That's impossible for you to see them every week and to build that solid relationship. So I would say that we need to change how much caseloads case managers and peer supporters have so they don't get burned out. We also need to increase wages. Peer supporters, just like everybody here is saying that they appreciate peer support and that they want us here and that our voices matter, you need to show us that with your money. Because at the end of the day, I can become unhoused if I'm a check away. I can become unhoused if I don't have enough hours. And so to me, I feel like if we really want to help peer supporters and say that, we support them, then we need to get paid more than 25 an hour. I think everybody in the mental health field isn't getting paid that much, and it needs to change because our work matters and the amount of stress that everybody goes through is daily. Another thing I would say is there needs to be more harm reduction therapy and support groups. SDI needs to increase. So many of our clients, as you guys know, are on disability and they're earning an income of $900 to $1,000. In Los Angeles, it is impossible for you to live in that income. Now, the problem is with people with disabilities, when you're paying them 900 or 1,000, it's like you're saying you don't matter because you can't work. You're going to be poor for the rest of your life, and it's unacceptable. SDI income needs to increase, and that's something that everybody should be fighting for. You cannot live off that money. And the last part is creating like a peer support like IHSS. Just like we have IHSS for caregivers for people with physical disabilities, we also need to have peer supporters for those who have mental health. And even with the IHSS workers, I mean, you got them getting paid $16 an hour. So again, these are things that I'm personally starting to see problems with the mental health system, and there's a lot of cracks where a lot of people end up falling through. So looking at these cracks and seeing how can we make these cracks disappear so we could help every single person. Yeah, and that's my opinion.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. For our closing question, and in 60 seconds, what is one thing you hope everyone here will leave with today?
I hope everyone leaves inspired to advocate for more things that peers want. The only way things are going to change is if a group of us rally and start fighting for these changes to happen. It's very difficult as working and having to do advocacy work, but I definitely encourage folks and hope that everybody gets inspired to fight for the things that we feel need to change.
Okay. Thank you for your time and for sharing your lived experience with us in this forum and advocacy in the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit. Thank you all. The purpose of the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit is hosted by Painted Brain is to uplift lived experiences by having conversations about what is working and what isn't working in the current mental health system from a peer perspective. These conversations will be shared at the California State Conference with peers throughout the state and to see where what is working and what isn't working overlaps. The feedback will be used to support the advocacy initiatives at the June 2023 California State Lead Conference in Sacramento, hosted by the California Association of Mental Health Peer Organizations, CAMHPRO. My name is Tristan Scremin, and I will be in conversation with today's storyteller about lived experiences with the mental health system. Let's lead the way by using our peer voice for advocacy. Okay, and welcome and thank you for agreeing to share your lived experience with us. What is your name, pronouns, and how do you identify?
My name is Emily Wu Trong. I most of the time I'm she, her, hers. Sometimes I'm he, him, his. So I say that I'm two-spirit, and I identify as a person with lived experience, a community advocate, mental health advocate, and also a caregiver as well. So I wear many hats.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for sharing. Here's the first question. Considering your lived experience, what do you think is working in the current mental health system? Please share times when you felt the interaction with the mental health system supported or was helpful, and you have, in the care you have received support and resources for your recovery journey. So what is working?
I owe my recovery to peer support groups. I love being part of the safe spaces of support groups and like Recovery International. They provide self-help, cognitive behavioral training. I also have been part of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Health and Mental Illness, and facilitating support groups for them with NAMI Glendale. I've been with them for nearly 10 years, volunteering and doing the facilitating the support groups, because the support groups sometimes feels like the safe spaces are so rare, where you are not judged for your experiences, where there is no shame, where there is no stigma, and that you can just be vulnerable and be present without anyone making you feel less than. And so in those spaces, I have been able to heal and find other people who have made me feel not alone. So I would say that is what is working in the mental health system.
Excellent. Thank you. Now we're on to the next question. Considering your lived experience, what do you think is not working in the current mental health system? Share times when you felt like the interaction with the mental health system did not support your health and recovery. And basically, what's not working with the system right now? Can you tell us about that?
I don't like 988. I've been interviewed by LA Times with regards to my experience with that, because when my dad was on his deathbed, I called 988 to try to see if that would help me, but it left me worse. And I was, just not feeling well. And when I called, and they did give me they gave me a grief support resource, which is nice. But when they asked, how else can we help you? And I said, well, have you ever been in my shoes before? They said, sorry, we cannot disclose that information. I'm like thinking, wow, you cannot be a human? I'm a human when I facilitate support groups, and I express my empathy towards others when they are in pain, to help them feel like you're not alone. I've been in your shoes. You're not alone. So 988 really is problematic with the way that they train their crisis call the people that, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for that response too. For our closing question, and in 60 seconds, what is one thing you hope that everyone here will leave with? What's the one thing you want to impart, or what do you think everyone should leave with this conference?
Sometimes you feel like, when you're alone and you're working through your own emotional triggers, you're not alone, and you never have been. With help, there is hope, and helplessness is not hopelessness. And I just wish everyone peace in their heart, in their mind, and in their soul. I wish that for everyone, because I wish that for my daddy who passed away 8 months ago, and I miss him dearly. So thank you so much for inviting me to be here and letting me have my voice heard so that I can feel seen and heard. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for your time and sharing of your lived experience as a form of advocacy here at the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit.
Thank you.
Okay. The purpose of the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit, hosted by Painted Brain, is to uplift the experience by having conversations about what is working and what isn't working in the current mental health system from the peer perspective. These conversations will be shared at the California State Conference with peers throughout the state, and to see where what is working and what isn't working overlaps. The feedback will be used to support the advocacy initiatives at the June 2023 California Lead Conference in Sacramento, hosted by the California Association of Mental Health Peer-Run Organizations, CAMHPRO. My name is Tristan Scremin, and I will be conversing with today's storyteller about lived experiences with the mental health system. Let's lead the way by using our peer voice for advocacy. Welcome, and thank you for agreeing to share your lived experience with us all. What is your name, pronouns, and how do you identify?
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Tiffany Rivera de Guzman. My pronouns are she, her, sha, and I identify as someone with lived experience navigating the mental health system for almost 10 years now, and also a mental health advocate in my community.
Excellent. Considering your lived experiences, what do you think is working in the current mental health system? Share times when you felt the interactions with the mental health system supported you or was helpful to your recovery. So what is working in the current mental health system?
Yeah, I cannot, in my lived experience and good faith, say that anything in particular is working very well in mental health, the mental health system, and even the educational systems around mental health. But what I would say is working is I've seen empathy and kindness in individuals, in groups, in and outside of facilities, in and outside of institutions. And the more that that is amplified, just based on, whether it is with peers, I can relate, I understand, or it's those advocates where even if it's not at their in their title at a facility, they're advocating for their clients, for their patients. So I think that's what's working. Same with in families, those that treat others with empathy and like humans who happen to be living with mental illness.
So would you say most of those people are peers, or just here and there's really good people inside the system that actually can do this person-to-person work?
For me, it's those earth angels you meet along the way, whether it's outpatient or inpatient or in spaces like this especially.
Okay, excellent. Okay, considering your lived experiences, what do you think is not working with the current mental health system? Share times where you felt like your interaction with the mental health system did not support you or was harmful to you and receiving care, support, resources, or recovery journey. Like, what is definitely not working in the current mental health system?
Yeah, so currently, and it's very raw and fresh for me right now, what's not working is psychiatric units. I've been in psychiatric units in 2014 and 2019 for suicidal ideation when I was depressed and didn't want to live, but also just as recently as the end of March until April 12th, 2023. I went in voluntarily for a psych evaluation for PTSD because I almost died in a fire on March 3rd, 2023. And after going in for an evaluation, I was thrown into a psych unit where it was inhumanely run. I was sleep deprived, and I was telling them I was having a panic attack, and I was threatened with a tranquilizer shot in my bottom. and they put me in a timeout room with vomit stained walls. So there's a lot of things not working in that system. But like I said in the previous question, there were a few angels that got me through that time. And there are some who didn't have as much education and knowledge and privilege as me to be able to have a voice and advocate for themselves. So while in the psychiatric unit, I had to also serve as an advocate for my own safety and for the safety of, especially of the other women survivors in that unit.
Let me ask you a follow-up question. Was that act of service and when you helped others, did that also help you, would you say?
It did help me, but at the end of the day, it really just felt necessary to my survival.
Had to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was just very understaffed, especially at nighttime. Mm-hmm.
Okay. For our closing question, and in 60 seconds, what is one thing you hope everyone will leave with today? So what's the one thing that you just hope people take from this experience?
Yeah, and it mirrors my own, which is I can sense that people who come to these types of events are committed to action, right? But what can we do that's practical within our own families? Because as painful as all this has been, I've been recovering at my parents' home, and it's been healing in both directions in my lineage. We're finally starting to have conversations. My parents are willing to go to therapy and to learn how to help me and how we could help each other, because it's not just this fire that happened. It's also all the intergenerational trauma and all of us adult children of immigrants who just don't, there isn't as many resources for us and to help our elders too, so that, we can be the healed versions of ourselves that our ancestors always dreamed of.
Excellent. Thank you for your time and sharing your lived experience as a form of advocacy here at the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit.
Thank you so much.
The purpose of the 2023 Los Angeles Lead Summit, hosted by Painted Brain, is to uplift the lived experience by having conversations about what is working and what is not working in the current mental health system from a peer perspective. These conversations will be shared at the California State Conference with peers throughout the state to see where what is working and what isn't working overlaps. The feedback will be used to support the advocacy initiatives in the June 2023 California State Lead Conference in Sacramento, hosted by the California Association of Mental Health Peer-Run Organizations, CAMHPRO. My name is Tristan Scremin, and I will be in conversation with today's storytellers about their lived experience in the mental health system. Let's lead the way by using our peer voice for advocacy. Welcome, and thank you for agreeing to share your lived experience with us all. What is your name, pronouns, and how do you identify?
My name is Jim the Hat Whitener. My pronouns is he, she, we, they, you, yours, and it. That's why you have Jim the Hat, a universal pronoun.
Okay. Do you identify as a peer, or do you identify as a person with lived experience, a caregiver? How would you say?
Lived experience for the last 10 years, also caregiver involved in suicide prevention.
Excellent. Thank you. Considering your lived experience, what do you think is working in the current mental health system? Share times when you felt like your interactions with the mental health system supported or was helped, and a good experience. What is currently working in the mental health system?
What is currently working is being able to have conferences like this in order that we may be able to have shared experience from others. When I started out about 9 years ago, this is when the hat was born. At that conference, I found out I was a dry alcoholic because of the medicine I took, Primatine Mist. 34% alcohol with steroids. No wonder I walked around mean. But because of that conference, I was able to go back and use the research method learned by JW.org and find out what that alcohol did to me. Made me like Mike Tyson on steroids.
Okay, great. Thank you for answering. Considering your lived experience, what do you think is not working in the current mental health system? Share times where you felt that interactions with the mental health system did not support you and was harmful to you and receiving services or your recovery journey.
Well, like I said, a pronoun is a matter of being universal. That's where I get the hat from. And in doing so, I don't deal with opinions. I deal with universal facts like the sun come up in the east and water is wet. And I learned that from jw.org. That's what worked for everybody. So when I went to express these ideals that work for everybody, I was told, Jim the Hat, keep your belief to yourself. But that was taken care of. But because the person was a commissioner, they actually was silencing me from speaking out. They were new. They didn't know anything about me being in mental health for 10 years. But they was, by the Department of Mental Health policy, listening to your ministers and spiritual advisors, they actually took a turnaround. But the idea that somebody would silence somebody, period, right or wrong, that's not what we're here for.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. For our closing question, and in 60 seconds, what is one thing you hope everyone will leave here with today? What's one thing that you hope people will take home and when they go home today?
Well, what is so astounding right now in the Department of Mental Health is the Peer Resource Center is opening up to the advice and spiritual advice coming from jw.org to be able to see it's a matter of us being humans. It's not just a sect. It ain't just this way or that way. It's not an opinion, but it deals with the mental health article and help from the Bible, which is a human level that we all are on. All humans' blood is red. Water's wet. Sun rises up in the east. JW.org got EVP methods that work.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for your time and sharing your lived experience as a form of advocacy here at the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit. Okay, the purpose of the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit hosted by Painted Brain is to uplift the lived experience by having conversations about what is working and what isn't working in the current mental health system from a peer perspective. These conversations will be shared at the California State Conference with peers throughout the state to see what is working and what isn't, to see where what is working and what isn't working overlaps. The feedback will be used to support advocacy initiatives at the June 2023 California State Lead Conference in Sacramento, hosted by the California Association of Mental Health Peer Organizations, CAMHPRO. My name is Tristan Scremin, and I will be conversing with today's storytellers about their lived experience with the mental health system. Let's lead the way by using our voice for advocacy. Welcome and thank you for agreeing to share your story with us. Please tell us what your name is, your pronouns, and how you identify.
My name is Jerry Sproul. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I identify as a person with lived experience with substance and my own brief mental health. And I currently work in the mental health field as a peer specialist supervisor, but I have also been an upfront peer specialist.
Excellent. Okay. The first question, considering your lived experience, what do you think is working in the current mental health system? So share times when you felt like the interactions with the mental health system supported or was helpful when you have received care, support, or resources for your recovery journey.
For myself personally, what helped me was when I came into the system for help, for mental health and for substance use help, that a person that had lived experience helped me. They helped guide me, to help me to become a better person, to know that I can make it, that I can recover, and that I could actually be a productive citizen. And so what is working in the system where I currently work now in the mental health field, what is working is peers. Peers, people with lived experience that are part of the team, with those that are suffering still with mental health and with substance use, because we're able to make more of a connection. And we really bridge the gap between the clinician and the services that are being provided.
Excellent. So considering your lived experience, what do you think is not working in the current mental health system? So share times where you felt your interaction with the mental health system did not support you or was harmful, where you have received care, support, and resources for your recovery journey. So what is not working? Tell us what's not working.
What I would say is not working, there's a couple of things. One thing that is not working is the long wait to be assigned a therapist or a mental health specialist. It's a long process from having your initial assessment and actually being assigned someone to work with you. That's been a lot of places where some of the peer specialists has been used to fill the gap. And I think another thing I would say is not working at this time, with peers being aboard now in the mental health field or coming aboard, is the clinicians not having the definition of what our role is, so that we can work together as teams, work together as one, as a care team, and not work our own individual words. Like we're not in our own world, but we're working together. So we need to know which each other's role is, and there's a lack of that knowledge.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. For our closing question, and in 60 seconds, what is one thing you hope everyone will take with them at the end of today? What's one thing that you...
One thing I hope everyone will take with them is how important the peer role is in the mental health and the substance field. It's very important for those that are struggling, suffering, those that are recovering, to be able to work with someone who's been there, done that, and is able to have real empathy because they've been there and done that.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. And thank you for your time and sharing your lived experience as part of advocacy here at the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit.
Thank you.
The purpose of the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit, hosted by Painted Brain, is to uplift the lived experience by having conversations about what is working and what isn't working in the current mental health system from a peer perspective. These conversations will be shared at the California State Conference with peers throughout the state to see where what is working and what isn't working overlap. The feedback will be used to support the advocacy initiatives at the June 2023 California Lead Conference in Sacramento, hosted by the California Association of Mental Health Peer-Run Organizations, CAMHPRO. My name is Tristan Scremin, and today I will be conversing with today's storyteller about their lived experiences with the mental health system. Let's lead the way by using our peer voice for advocacy. So, welcome and thank you for agreeing to share your lived experience with us all. Can you tell us your name, your pronouns, and how you identify?
Hi, I'm Serenity Indra Lavelle, and my pronouns are mother, she, and her. I am an advocate, peer, and a CAMHPRO State Hospital and suicide survivor. Yeah,
Excellent. Welcome.
thank you.
Our first question is, considering your lived experience, what do you think is working in the current mental health system? Share times where you felt the interaction with the mental health system supported or was helpful, where you have reached out for care support and resources in your recovery journey. So what is working with the current system?
For me, what's working is empathy versus sympathy and pity. That's where peer support comes in, where I finally found my voice because I was locked up as a teenager and as a child, was when I found peer support communities like MHCAN in Santa Cruz, the Mental Health Action Network, NAMI, and intentional peer support when I took that certification about 6 years ago. And also being heard by psychiatrists that I did not want to be forced into taking medication. And and spiritual and compassionate wellness.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for that. Considering your lived experience, what do you think is not working in the current mental health system? Share times when you felt like your interaction with the mental health system did not support you or was harmful to where you received services, support, and your recovery journey. What is not working in the current mental health system?
What I've experienced is not working is 5150 criteria. It's either too little or too much. When you really desperately need help, you're not hospitalized. I haven't been hospitalized in over 7 years. When you express suicidal ideation, which somebody like me, I'm bipolar, and that's part of my diagnosis and my disease, I'm threatened to be going to be locked up. I'm threatened with forced medication, noncompliance, and I'm scared to go into the mental health system because of that, which I haven't been in the mental health system in about 3 or 4 years. So holding people against their will and conservatorship, which I was conserved as a teenager, is extremely detrimental and harmful to people. And living off SSI, which I do. I was diagnosed as a teenager, and I've been disabled prior to being 18, even though I've worked in and out of mental health. I was a CNA. You can't live off that. It's very, very hard, and more grief and support bereavement services. My daughter died 5 years ago from cancer, and it's very, very hard to find that, or they don't call you back. So all of these things kind of weigh in on what's working and what's not working.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. For our closing question, and in 60 seconds, what is one thing that you hope people will leave with here today? What's the one thing that you hope people, when they come to this conference or they hear you speaking, what's the one thing you hope they will leave with?
To feel empowered. Our power is taken away when we're locked up. Our power is taken away when we're stigmatized and diagnosed as being mentally ill. We're considered crazy. We're scared to reveal that in workplaces unless it's a peer support type situation. So, and the spirit of advocacy, to talk, storytelling, to gather people together, even out on the streets. You know, you see somebody going through a manic episode or schizophrenic and hearing voices, you know, to empathize with them and say, hey, I can relate. That's really, really important to feel human. It's about power, taking our power back, because when we've been diagnosed with mental illness, our power is taken away because people are then making decisions for us. And it's very difficult. And we don't want to be scared anymore to say, hey, I'm bipolar, or it used to be manic depression when I was diagnosed as a kid, or schizophrenic, or borderline personality, which I have, PTSD. We shouldn't be scared anymore and stigmatized.
Thank you for your time and sharing your lived experience as form of advocacy here at the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit. The purpose of the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit today is hosted by Pain and Brain is to uplift the lived experience by having conversations about what is working and what isn't working in the current mental health system from a peer perspective. These conversations will be shared at the California State Conference with peers throughout the state to see where what is working and what isn't working overlaps. This feedback will be used to support the advocacy initiatives at the June 2023 California Lead Conference in Sacramento, hosted by the California Association of Mental Health Peer-Run Organizations, CAMHPRO. My name is Tristan Scremin, and I will be in conversation with today's storyteller about their lived experiences with the mental health system. Let's lead the way by using our peer voice for advocacy. So welcome, and thank you for agreeing to share your lived experience with us all. What is your name, pronouns, and how do you identify?
I am Mark Carmat. I don't know if I have a pronoun, but I have been within the mental health system and with Project Return since 1980, and actually since about 1970.
Wow. Do you identify as a peer? How would you
I do identify as a peer. I was in board and care. I was not in the hospital, but I was in board and care for about 20 years, and also worked for board and care during that time.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay.
Considering your lived experience, what do you think is working in the current mental health system? Share times that you felt your interaction with the mental health system supported and was helpful to you, and in the care you received, support, resources for your recovery journey. What is working in the current mental health system?
What we have done is we have been able to introduce peer support services within the Department of Mental Health. We got the Office of Consumer Affairs started in Los Angeles in 1995, I think it was. 1997 was when the Office of Consumer Affairs started. We had that for at least 10 to 12 years. I think we need to get it started over again. And we also need to have peer support service, Office of Consumer Affairs at each of the service area leadership teams. One other thing, we have been trying to introduce certified peer specialists through the Mental Health Services Act. One of the things I think is a danger is the expansion of grave disability and because it's...
We're going to get that in just 1 second.
Okay.
Just tell us what is working, and then I'm going to ask you another question about what's not working. Tell us more things that what is working.
Okay. We've gotten peer support services within.
You think that was a big win? The peer support services.
It's everything is it's small, but it's big
right,
at the same time.
Yeah.
Project Return is doing the trainings on peer support.
You think peer training was a big win too?
Peer training is a very big win.
SB 803 and all of this stuff.
Yeah, SB 803. It took 4 different tries to get that bill through. Mm-hmm. It came in as SB 10 one time, then SB 903, then SB 803. When SB 803 was signed by Governor Newsom, Jerry Brown did not sign those bills. Mm. So that was a block. Mm. We finally got it signed. It's in the law right now. It's part of what I think is the Welfare Institutions Code. We've got to get it going, both countywide, statewide, and we are now about 49th state.
So almost all 50 states. Almost all 50 states.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, now we're going to get to the part you were just talking about. Considering your lived experience, what do you think is not working in the current mental health system. Share times where you felt like your interaction with the mental health system did not support you or was harmful, where you have received care, support, or resources for your recovery journey. What's not working?
I'm going to give you a little bit of a history.
Okay, go ahead.
And that is in 1980, I had to take somebody to, when I was working, when I was part of Beverlywood at the time, I helped people get back and forth to the hospital, back and forth. It was kind of they were bouncing in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that which means that there was something that was not working. However, there was one time when we took somebody to Santa Monica West, which was the program that's now at Santa Monica West Mental Health Center.
Right.
They put the person in 4-point restraints and took her to Camarillo State Hospital.
Oh, yeah. So you think the forced hospitalization system.
Yeah, forced
You
hospitalization.
don't like that? It doesn't work, in your opinion?
Yeah, not that I know of.
Okay.
However, I have had to get somebody hospitalized within the last year, and I don't like doing that stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to do. You talked a little bit earlier about the conservatorship process. You think that's a problem too?
They're gonna they want to expand the definition of grave disability, and it went through the Judiciary Committee. It passed, and it's now going to the Appropriations Committee in the Senate. I don't know whether they listened to it yet or not. I don't know, but it's if it gets passed and it goes onto the floor of the Senate, that's a problem.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. For our closing question and 60 seconds or less, what is one thing you hope everyone will leave here with today? So what's something that people listening to this, people here at this conference, what's something you hope they will take home with them?
To pass the information on.
Okay. Share information.
Share information, very important. My job that I do with Project Return is to share information nationwide. You're one of the recipients of that information.
Yeah,
So,
I've received your notices many times, Mark. They're very informative.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your time and sharing your lived experience as a form of advocacy here at the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit. The purpose of the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit, hosted by Painted Brain, is to uplift the lived experience by having conversations about what is working and what isn't working in the current mental health system from a peer perspective. These conversations will be shared at the California State Conference with peers throughout the state to see where what is working, what isn't working overlaps. The feedback will be used to support the advocacy initiatives at the June 2023 State Lead Conference in Sacramento, hosted by California Association of Mental Health Peer Run Organizations, CAMHPRO. My name is Tristan Scremin, and today I will be conversing with today's storyteller about the lived experience with mental health in the mental health system. Let's lead the way by using our peer voice for advocacy. Okay, welcome, and thank you for agreeing to share your experience with us all. Can you tell us your name, your pronouns, and how you identify?
Yeah, my name is Kevin. I identify as he, him, and I would say I'm a peer supporter, and I also have family members who are also dealing with mental health and trying to be involved with that.
So you identify as a caregiver and as a family member?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, Considering your lived experience, what do you think is working in the current mental health system? Share times where you felt like the interaction with the mental health system supported or was helpful when you have reached out for care, support, and resources for your recovery journey. So what is currently working in the mental health system?
I think what's working right now is the different types of programs and organizations involved with helping with mental health, and especially through artistic resources. I think that's probably the most identifiable that I've been able to experience and also be involved in. I think being able to be involved in these type of programs has really helped open my eyes in terms of, seeing what we can do with our resources and how we can apply that and help other people.
So you think like arts and mental health or arts programming generally is a good source of healing in the mental health? Would you say that that's something that you think is working?
Definitely.
Okay. Considering your lived experience, what do you think is not working in the current mental health system? Share times where you felt like your interaction with the mental health system did not support you or was harmful when you have reached out for care, support, or resources in your recovery journey. So what's not working right now, considering your lived experience or your experience as a family member or a caregiver? What are the things that are not working?
Yeah, I think I've had a lot of experience working in the education system, especially working with youth. And I think one thing that I've recognized and realized pretty early on is how sometimes a lot of our educators are not putting in the time to be patient and giving the time to the youth and being able to provide those type of resources to talk about mental health and to also, be able to articulate these, feelings. A lot of these children are, experiencing a lot of the same things that we are, just in different volumes, and they just need to be able to express that in their own way. And I think our jobs as educators or as peer supporters is to be able to give them the space and the time to do that.
Excellent. For our closing question, in about 60 seconds, what is one thing you think or you hope that everyone will leave here with today? So people hearing this, what's the one thing you hope they will leave with?
I think one thing, I'm currently 25 years old, and I feel like I've, come to this idea in the last couple of years, but it starts and ends with people. It's something that is so human, so something that we all want to be able to just connect with and connect with each other. And so I think the biggest thing for me, and hopefully people are listening, is, we should value our time with each other. We should, put in as much effort and love and care with each other, because at the end of the day, the world gets complicated, life gets complicated, but if we have each other, it doesn't feel that way in a lot of ways.
Thank you for your time and sharing your lived experience as a form of advocacy here at the 2023 Los Angeles Regional Lead Summit.
Thank you.